The Inquisitive Mamba Podcast, episode 54. What a game that was last night. Eagles, Chiefs. Chiefs ended up winning 38-35. Am I ready to call Mahomes the GOAT yet? Not just yet. But also make sure to follow and subscribe to the Inquisitive Mamba Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as iHeartRadio. Without further ado, let's get into today's show. Like I said, what a game last night. I mean, that was unbelievable. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Watching my eyes, Jalen Hurt and the Eagles in the first half of that game, I mean, that was nothing but spectacular. Hurts deserves his flowers. He really does. I mean, that was a all-time performance from him. 70 rushing yards, broke the Super Bowl rushing record for a quarterback. I mean, he was spectacular. If I'm an Eagles fan, there's nothing to hold my hat about. There's nothing to be disappointed about. Not at all. I mean, they played really good. Did they play great? Well, obviously, football's won for 1, 2, 3, and 4 quarters in total. And the problem with that is the second half. I'm not sure what happened in the second half with the Eagles defense. I mean, the problem I have with them is they couldn't get any pressure on Mahomes. They had a total of 0 sacks in that entire game. So that was my biggest thing with the Eagles in the second half. The Chiefs, they showed why that they were the better team. Mahomes prevailed. That ankle injury was something to look at, during the game. It was like, whoa, Mahomes got hurt. Oh no, everyone, held their hat. And they were just sitting there just like, man. So, I mean, it was a great game. But let's really get into it. First of all, the James Bradberry versus JuJu Smith-Schuster controversial holding call. Was it a penalty? Was it not? I think by textbook it was a holding call, so I think it's a fair call. But in that type of situation, do you really call that? Man, I'm going to say no. You haven't really called many penalties all game, and then you call that there in the worst spot possible. Oh, shame on you, NFL refs. Shame on you. And I tweeted that after the game. I was like, the refs, they had their fingerprints all over this game. They couldn't wait to do it. They were egregious all year long. And the biggest moment, biggest spot, stage is bright, the stage is lit up. And next thing you know, the refs, they put their fingerprints right on the game. They had to do it. But James Bradberry after the game said it was holding. And Eagles fans didn't want to hear that. But my biggest thing is accountability is key. Take actions for what you did wrong. It goes back to the beginning of time. If you did something wrong, admit it. Move on, learn from it. At least there's closure there, knowing that you made a mistake. So that's my biggest thing there. And JuJu even said that it was holding. Now, my last opinion on it before we move on, yes, it was holding. But do you call that in that spot of that game? No, because you haven't called penalties like that all game. So that's where I'm at. I feel you, Eagles fans. I feel the frustration. I really understand where you're coming from. But then again, football's not decided by one play. It never has, and it never will. It was all 4 quarters of that game. So don't sit here and say that that game was determined by that one play, because it wasn't. I made a TikTok about this last night as well. You can follow me at the IQM pod, saying that similar with the Bengals and the Chiefs a few weeks ago, that it didn't come down to that one play with Joseph Asai hitting Patrick Mahomes out of bounds. It was won by the Chiefs in all 4 quarters. That's how it is. It's never going to change. That's never going to change. Mahomes Super Bowl MVP, that was expected. I made a clip about that yesterday, actually saying, is it fair to call Mahomes a top 5 quarterback? Is it fair to say that Mahomes is better than Aaron Rodgers? Well, he won his 2nd Super Bowl MVP. He won his 2nd Super Bowl. So the conversation's open. It really is. Now, some people may think I'm crazy. Why are you comparing him to Aaron Rodgers when you should be comparing him to Tom Brady? I'm not going to compare him to Tom Brady. Not until he wins a few more Super Bowls. He's won 2 Super Bowls. Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls with 5 Super Bowl MVPs. Yes, Mahomes was spectacular all year long. Everyone was writing the Chiefs off because Tyreek Hill got traded to the Dolphins in the offseason. His only weapon was Travis Kelce. Realistically, last night in that Super Bowl, all year long, realistically, JuJu Smith-Schuster was solid. Marquez Valdes-Scantling showed up, and I didn't even think he did. He didn't show up. That was my point there. But my biggest thing is I'm not ready to call Mahomes the GOAT. I'm not ready to compare him to Brady. Now, Peyton Manning said that I think Mahomes is a Hall of Famer. So let's pull up Mahomes' resume. Let's go here. So 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs. He's already passed for 5,000 yards in a season. He threw for 50 touchdowns in a season. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler. What else more does the guy have to prove at this point of his career? If he were to retire tomorrow, would he be a first ballot Hall of Famer? Yes, I think he would. That's where I'm going to leave that at. But I'm not going to put him in the GOAT conversation with Brady just yet. The accomplishments and the accolades are going to come over his career and the longevity of his career. But Brady did it for 23 seasons. Just like the conversation with LeBron and MJ. Now you can say, how are those comparable? Because MJ and LeBron are played so many different, played such a long period of time compared to Mahomes, who played 5 seasons, and Brady played 23. Longevity is key here, folks. Tom Brady played 23 seasons. LeBron's played 20 seasons. MJ played, 14 or 15, and he did a 2-year retirement stint. The point I'm trying to make here is longevity is key. Yes, the accomplishments and the accolades will come from Mahomes throughout the period of his career. But let's pump the brakes here. Don't forget about Tom Brady. I know he just retired and everyone wants to crown Mahomes as the new GOAT. Like I said in last week's podcast, he is the poster boy. I get that. But let's pump the brakes here, and that's where I'm at. Like I said, I want to go back to Jalen Hurts throughout that game. He was spectacular. 27 of 28, 304 yards, 70 rushing yards, which was spectacular. Really, you can't really blame Jalen Hurts in this spot. You can't. I mean, yeah, you can blame him for that one fumble that he had. That was his only miscue, but it's a 4-quarter game. Eagles defense let them down. They really did. The second half adjustments by Andy Reid were the key to this game. Whatever Andy Reid saw in the film room at halftime, what we didn't see on TV because there was so much going on, obviously, out there. There's no all 22 film, just sitting there watching the game. You can only eye test it. You can see, there was a missed coverage there. There's a blown coverage there. There's miscommunication there. There's this, there's that. But my biggest thing is Andy Reid made the adjustments what mattered. And I want to give credit to the Chiefs coaching staff as well. Steve Spagnuolo, he's been in this position before with the Chiefs, obviously, in that Niners game. When they were down by 10 points, I talked about that as well last night for a TikTok clip. So the Chiefs have been in this position before. But like I said, I'm going back to the point that I just made. Andy Reid made the adjustments, but also the coaching staff. Steve Spagnuolo, Eric Bieniemy, Matt Nagy. Yeah, some people hate Matt Nagy, but that coaching staff did wonders in the second half. They saw something that we didn't see. My biggest thing also is the Chiefs didn't have any sort of pressure on Jalen Hurts in the first half. In the second half, total different story. They kind of flushed him out of the pocket. They made him scramble a little more. They just got him a little more flustered. That's what mattered the most. It's not down to that one play. I don't want to hear that. It's not about the one play. It's about the second half adjustments. Football's 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4-quarter game. Let's talk about the controversial catches throughout this postseason, the controversial catches in last night's game. Devontae Smith, did he catch it? Did Dallas Goedert catch it? What is going on with the catch rule in the NFL? Ja'Marr Chase a few weeks ago against the Bills, the 2 feet in the end zone, didn't maintain full possession when he fell out of bounds, when Matt Milano got his hand in there. What is a catch in the NFL? Because that is something that needs to be looked at. It really does. And that's what drives me crazy the most. Dallas Goedert made a hell of a play last night when he caught the ball up top here like this. I was watching film a few weeks ago. That's where you put the ball if you're a quarterback. You throw that ball high up there right where the helmet is, right above the helmet, and you place it where the defensive back can't get. Anyways, my point is what is a catch in this day in the NFL? Because that is something they're going to have to look at this offseason. There was too many miscommunications, misblown reviews that were calls and were not calls. The one I will go back to was the Devontae Smith one a few weeks ago in the NFC Championship against the Niners in the first quarter. That was huge. That was a huge missed call there. You missed it completely. That was not a catch. And you called it a catch. The NFL needs to come to the conclusion this offseason and decide what is a catch and what is not. That's where I'll leave it. Flip the script to the Chiefs real quick. How about Nick Bolton? He was everywhere last night, all over the field, making plays. He almost had 2 touchdown last night. So that was really cool to see. If I have to remind you, he had 180 tackles this year. Guy drafted out of Missouri a few years ago. Really good player in this league. He's a high flyer. I mean, he hits gaps like it's no tomorrow. But I mean, he was spectacular. The Chiefs defense really stepped up in the second half when it mattered the most. But Nick Bolton was my defensive MVP. I don't know how you couldn't crown him defensive MVP. So, but anyways, Chiefs defense was really good in the second half. The Eagles blundered. A few more things to hit on here. Does Jalen Hurts deserve a massive contract? Now, this is something we need to talk about. Do you want to pay a guy $50 million and lose a lot of other guys? Like kind of how the Chiefs are with Mahomes right now. You gave him the $500 million contract. And are you paying for it? But are you not? Because obviously the Chiefs have a few free agents this offseason as well. But the main thing they're going to focus and really hit upon is who else can we pay? Because we couldn't pay Tyreek Hill. We're going to lose Orlando Brown in free agency, most likely. I mean, that's how it is. You want to pay a guy like that, that's what's going to happen. It's not a secret. So flip the script to the Eagles real quick. If you're an Eagles fan, yeah, we want to pay Jalen Hurts. Yeah, we want to pay Jalen Hurts. How much are you going to give Jalen Hurts? Because there's a lot of guys on your team that you have to pay. Javon Hargraves, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Miles Sanders. The names keep going. Do you want to give him $50 million? Does he deserve the contract? I think he does, but then again, he does have a really good offensive line. I think everything is in the right places for Jalen, right place for Jalen Hurts, right place, right time. That's how I see it. Right place, right time. That's how I'm feeling. They have a great offensive line, number one ranked offensive line this year. Lane Johnson, will he come back? Another, season under his belt. He's getting up there in age. So who knows? We'll see. But yeah, you have to pay Jalen Hurts. You're not going to let him walk. Can you compare? This is my comparison here. I hate to say this, and people might get upset. This is how I see it. Jordan Poole doesn't have the role that Jalen Hurts does for the Eagles, obviously, because Jalen Hurts is the point guard. He's the Chris Paul. He's the floor general. He runs the offense. But it was the same thing with the Warriors last year in the offseason. Were you going to lose Jordan Poole? Absolutely not. You're not going to lose Jalen Hurts. You have to pay him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Eagles fans might be mad that you give him $50 million, but with this new market and these new quarterbacks in this day in the NFL, you have to give him that. Just like Joe Burrow is going to get for the Bengals when he's due. He's got one more year left. He's going to get that contract. Justin Herbert's going to get that contract. These young quarterbacks, you're going to have to pay them. That's how it is. That's this new way in the NFL. The Brady days of taking pay cuts, they don't exist. Mahomes didn't take a pay cut, so why would Jalen Hurts take a pay cut? That's what I'm saying. So funny moment here, Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce. F you, congratulations. I loved the build-up all week from those two with the podcast, the New Heights podcast. Their mom and their dad was on there. It was cool to see. Obviously, it was very emotional for the two of them. Of course, brothers, you leave your blood, sweat, and tears out there for all four quarters. You've been kind of talking smack to each other all week. You want to beat your brother, just like you want to beat your best friend in a game of horse, just like you want to beat your best friend in a game of pig. But there's only one winner at the end. Jason Kelce's got his Super Bowl, had a hell of a season this year. I mean, he was spectacular. Travis Kelce's got 2 now, but it's just cool to see when you see those little snippets and those little moments that are shown on TV of how much emotion goes into it. And today's Monday, so I'm sure the NFL films will come out and you'll see the footage of the players during the game mic'd up and afterwards. That's the raw, full emotion, not what you see from yourself just sitting there, what you see through their eyes. You can kind of sit back and sit there and go, man, wow, it really happened like that? Because there's so many things going on when you're watching the Super Bowl. I mean, like I said, the halftime, the announcers, so many things going on. People running in front of the TV, commercials, you can't really focus. But when you see those clips on social media and you see what really kind of went down, you kind of just feel like you're on the field in a way. Like you're on the sideline, but you're on the field and you're feeling like, wow, that really happened? That's cool. You sit there and you take a moment and you go, whew, I like that. Wow. Man, I missed that. Well, now I get to see it. So, like I said, Chiefs gave up 0 sacks in that entire game. For an Eagles defense that was really good all year long. Now, some people are going to say, who did they face? Who did they face? And I brought that up on the podcast 2 episodes ago. I said, should Eagles fans be worried? Should they be worried? Who knows? That's how I'm feeling. The hands were up in the air. That's what I said. I said, who knows? We shall see what they will bring to the table. Brock Purdy and Daniel Jones. Those are the two quarterbacks they faced this entire postseason. They didn't face Trevor Lawrence, and they didn't face a Joe Burrow. So they weren't battle tested. But like I said, the Chiefs' offensive line was really, really impressive. 0 sacks. And this goes back to my point with their offensive line. They didn't have the offensive line in that Super Bowl against the Bucs. They got demolished, but they went out and they got Joe Thuney. They drafted Creed Humphrey. They traded for Orlando Brown. That's how it is. It's clear cut. Quarterback, offensive line. It doesn't change. It's never going to. Those are the two pieces. They had the quarterback. They needed the offensive line, and they negated a really good Eagles pass rush by a good offensive line. If you have the offensive line, I'm taking that over the D line any day of the week. Their pass protection is key, and Mahomes can buy time. He can step up in the pocket. He can scramble. They can, call different, plays for him. They can give the offensive line more time. So, but anyways, what a hell of a Super Bowl that was. And my last point here is, where does Mahomes rank all time? This is the question. Is he top 3? Is he top 5? Is he top 7? Well, Peyton Manning came out and said that Mahomes is a Hall of Famer. But I'm really focused on, is he top 3? Is he top 5? Is he better than He's not better than Peyton Manning. He's not better than Drew Brees, in my opinion. These obviously those are the longevity guys. But the conversation for Aaron Rodgers is open, of course. I don't like it because it just what Rodgers has done throughout his entire career. Mahomes has only played 5 seasons. That's my biggest thing. And I get it. He's had an impressive career so far. But like I said, I'm a big longevity guy. So if I were to put Mahomes in the top category, top conversation, I would say he's, man, I hate this because there's been so many great quarterbacks. It's just such a tough thing to say. Fine, go top 5. I'm not putting him in top 3 yet. Not yet. Is Travis Kelce the best tight end of all time? Coming from a Patriots fan, no, but he did just pass Gronk on the all-time postseason list for most touchdowns. 16, Gronk had 15. It's impressive. He's got 2 Super Bowls now, but I don't know if it's fair to say, does he have as much of an impact as Gronk does? Because Gronk was dominant all those years in New England. If Travis Kelce's not the best tight end of all time, I'm putting him second. Now I understand Tony Gonzalez, Shannon Sharp, but I think Travis Kelce's second. Not better than Gronk. It's just such a tough thing to swallow. Is he better than Gronk? I'm going to say no. I don't think he's better than Gronk all time. I think Gronk has been had more of an impact, and he was more dominant throughout his time playing. And Travis Kelce is the entire focal point of the Chiefs offense, obviously since they lost Tyreek Hill. But I think I think Travis Kelce is more of a wide receiver than a tight end. Gronk was a true tight end. Gronk was he was blocking. I mean, he was doing it all. I mean, Travis Kelce blocks as well. I think Travis Kelce may get open faster than Gronk, but I will sit here and say Gronk takes the number 1 spot for now. Not to say he can't get past, because the Chiefs don't look like they're slowing any down anytime soon. It doesn't seem like it. But anyways, how about 4 Gators winning the Super Bowl for the Chiefs? Tommy Townsend, LaMichael Pirine, Kadarius Toney, and Carlos Dunlap. Special. Really cool coming from a Gator alumni and a Gator fan. It's really cool to see. Now, I'm not the biggest Kadarius Toney fan. That's one thing I'll say. He had a huge impact on the Super Bowl last night. Biggest punt return in Super Bowl history. I'm pretty sure about that. He had that nasty touchdown, that double motion they did. Toney kind of came into the slot, and then he came back out, and then he kind of just hitched off to the flat. Spectacular play call from Andy Reid. Spectacular play call. But it was really cool to see 4 players from the Gators win a Super Bowl. It was really cool to see. So hats off to them on winning that. But last point here, the Chiefs erased a 10-point deficit. They erased a 10-point deficit. And when I saw this at halftime, I sat there and I looked at the screen and I said, Terry Bradshaw, he said this. He goes, the Chiefs have been in this position before. And I was like, no way the Eagles will blow this. No way the Eagles will blow this. They're playing at an all-time high level right now. Jalen Hurts is so patient. Everything's coming to him. The offensive line is clicking. Everything is just working well for the Eagles in the first half. But the Chiefs have been in this position before. Like I said earlier, they did it against the Niners. What's to say they can't do it again? And that's where you have it. That's how you have it. But anyways, I want to say thanks again for tuning in. As always, the Inquisitive Mamba Podcast. You know where to find us. Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TikTok clips, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. You know where to find us. As always, thank you. And what a great Super Bowl that was. Now we're on to the NFL Combine, NFL Draft. We'll see you next time.